The colorectal specialist I was seeing, he kept telling me it was hemorrhoids. And I was like, are you sure? Are you sure I don't have cancer? He said, yes, you're too young. You can't just look at someone and say, because you're young, you don't have cancer. And he called me and he said, I'm sorry, Amber, but it's in your liver and it's stage 4. And that is when I hit the floor. I had my daughter at 35. And so while I was pregnant, I was having a lot of changes in bowel habits. And of course, when you're pregnant, a lot of that comes with being pregnant. So we just brushed it off. And then after I delivered Isabella, I had a C-section, and I remember I could not go to the restroom. When they released me from the hospital, I felt really, really sick. And I was like, this is weird. I don't understand. I didn't feel like this with my son. Then after we got home, things kind of changed. Like, I wasn't working. I was on maternity leave, and I just could not get untired. Like, I was so fatigued all the time. I could not get up in the middle of the night with her. It was like a fatigue that I've never felt before. But thankfully, I have a great husband who did everything. We just brushed it off as being older, having a baby. Eventually, I started to see blood in my stool. And at first I thought, it's just part of postpartum and it's hemorrhoids, and your mind doesn't want to take you to the bad place. So I just ignored it for a while. Eventually, it was there all the time. So I did see my primary care, and they confirmed that I did have a fissure, which is like a tear. And they were like, that's where it's coming from. I was working in neurology at the time, and there was a colorectal specialist down the hall, and I called and begged. And I was like, can you please see me today? They actually did. They saw me. He just confirmed that it was hemorrhoids. And I was like, okay. So I felt good. I seen my primary, I seen a specialist, and I just have hemorrhoids. A few months went on, and things just got worse. The blood got worse. I went back to him a couple times. We tried different creams. Nothing was working. And eventually I started to have a lot of other symptoms. I would stand up and I would get really dizzy. After I used the restroom, I would feel like this kind of rush over my body. I was fatigued. I had to wear glasses because I had blurry vision all the time. I started to have some abdominal cramping at night, and it was like every day, all day, consuming me. And every time I went to the restroom, it was just getting worse and worse. And the fatigue, and I would wake up in the morning and you would feel just like you had the flu, or you're just really sick. And, you don't want these things. You don't want it to be cancer. And so in my mind, I was thinking of everything that it could be impossible. I even changed my diet. I did gluten-free, I did low carb, I did everything. And I would convince myself, I think it's getting better, but it really wasn't. I was just in denial. And then one day I just decided I'm going to go to the ER. I just can't take this anymore. And on the way, I called my colorectal specialist. I said, I'm just going to go to the ER. And he was like, we'll do a colonoscopy. And I got the colonoscopy thinking that we were just going to be in my hemorrhoids and everything would be okay. And I woke up and he said, I'm sorry, you have colon cancer. I was shocked. And I really didn't have that much to process. I only had a day before I found out it was stage 4. I don't remember the ride home. I do know I stopped at my grandpa's church to pray, but I don't remember anything. I don't remember that night. I don't remember. It's just a blur. He said, I'm sorry, Amber, you have cancer. He said, it's not going anywhere. I'm going on vacation for a couple weeks. And when I get back, we'll get you set up for surgery. And I was just coming out of colonoscopy. And I was like, what? Well, I worked in neurology at the time. And these fabulous doctors were like, So they found the best doctor in the whole world for me. And he got me in the next day. He did order labs and we did a CEA. So I went to see the new doctor, and he said that he thought I was okay because my CEA was normal. So we were kind of like, okay, we caught it early. Because early stage colon cancer is very treatable. So I was like, we're good. And he explained to me the situation that if we're going to do scans, and if it's spread, it's stage 4 and it's not going to be good. So we did scans, and I was standing in this hallway right here, and he called me and he said, I'm sorry, Amber, but it's in your liver and it's stage 4. And that is when I hit the floor, scream. I can still remember it. It was like my world passed before my eyes. Everything was spinning, and I can still remember it clearly to this day. I gave the phone to my husband because I couldn't talk to him anymore. And I called my mom, and I just told her, I said, I'm dying. It's in my liver. My mom and my dad and my sister came over, and we just made a plan that I would not be left alone and that we would do whatever. It was like we were sad and crying, and then we just went into let's fix this mode. And it was like that for I don't know, for weeks and weeks. I was put on palliative care, like from the beginning. They told my husband had called. We had a nurse. I don't know what they're called. Somebody that guides you through, and he had called and said, can you cure her? And she said, we can't because it's stage 4. She said, we can treat it like a chronic illness, like diabetes, something like that, as long as we can, but we can't cure her. He never told me that. I never wanted to know any of that. I didn't Google anything or nothing. But in the back of my husband's mind, he's like, we can't cure you. So my oncologist that I chose, he actually called me in my home, but he treated me like family from the beginning. And I just felt so comfortable. And he told me, he said, we need to start aggressive right now, Amber. He said, tomorrow, I need you here. We need to be aggressive. He said, we can't do surgery because the tumors are too spread out on your liver. So we're going to start with very aggressive chemo. And then we'll do 6 rounds and we'll go from there and see how it is. And actually, when I went into chemo, I was still feeling, pretty bad. And after that first round of chemo, I went back in to see him and he's like, how do you feel? And I was like, I actually feel normal. And I was like, and the blood stopped. And he was like, are you kidding me? And I was like, no. And he's like, you aren't having any side effects? And I was like, not really. I mean, not yet. They did get worse. But I was like, I actually feel good. And so we did a few rounds. Then we scanned. And that's when we saw that it was working. But when he came in and he said, Amber, everything in your liver is gone. He said that the lymph nodes and the colon tumor have shrunk tremendously. And he said, I have never seen anything work this fast. And we were like, praise God. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I mean, it was a miracle. And he was like, we're going to keep going. That's what we did. We kept going. And eventually at the next scan, the tumor in my colon was gone. The lymph nodes were gone. And so instead of doing surgery after 6 rounds, he said, we're just going to keep going because it's working. And that's what we did. So we did 12 rounds and it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always like I felt great. It got worse, but it didn't matter because it was working. So I would have done anything. So at the end, he was like, I think I was the first patient that he's seen to get a complete response to chemo. And he was like, I don't really know what to do with you. He's like, I don't know if we should stay on immunotherapy because I was on immunotherapy too, or if we should do chemo some more. And I said, he's like, I'm going to leave this up to you. So I did some research and I thought, let's stop because it's working and my body is being affected by it. I was getting neuropathy really bad. And I was like, and if it comes back, hopefully we can go back and it'll do the same thing. So after that, we waited a little bit. You have to wait a little bit after chemo to do surgery. So we went in and did surgery to remove where it used to be in my colon and all my lymph nodes. Because they said if it would come back, it would come back in the colon where it originally grew. So we removed all those. Pathology came back clear. And then the colon surgeon took like a camera up to my liver and looked around. But we never touched my liver. No surgery, nothing. I haven't done anything since. It was like a rush. It's like the biggest, high like you could ever get. And I only thank God for that. And that's the only person that saved me. It got scarier after you stop treatment because everything is like boom, boom, boom in your face and like everybody's around you. And then you stop and it's like quiet. My son Connor, I was where you have his graduation parties and I was going through this bucket that I keep for them. And when I was told I had stage 4, I was worried a little bit about the future. I was positive, but you always want to be, I wanted my kids to remember me. And in the bucket, I found like, I'm going to cry, the blanket that I made with our picture and the watch and notes. And I made them journals and I won't read those things and I put it back down. But, Connor was 8 and he's 18 and Isabella was 1, maybe. That's why I wanted to live because I knew like my parents and everybody could live without me, but like your kids can't, and so that was my reason. Beginning, I was like, I just don't want to stop because when I was home, you get in your thoughts. So I was never alone. I didn't want to stop. I wanted to keep everything as normal as possible. And I was also 36 and I know that that's young, but I went to work every day that I could. And it was very important for me because everything just seemed normal. Now, things got bad with the chemo. I will say it's not all easy. And there were days I had to stay home, or there were days that I would have my chemo pack and I would go to my car at lunch to take a nap and nobody would know. But you just dealt with it. You just dealt with it. I love being around people. I love going to the games. I love doing everything because keeping busy kept my mind off of it and everything just felt normal. There was no like sitting home thinking about it. So life is a little bit more precious now. I mean, and I'm obviously, I was 35 and I'm 45 now, but day by day, like I don't worry, about the future. I don't like to make plans really for the future. I learned to just live in the moment and live in the day because it doesn't have to be cancer. It can change in a minute. And before I never, that can happen, but you don't really think about it too often. And now I know in an instant, like tomorrow it could come back. And so my perspective is to make time with my family, my friends, and just enjoy everything and not try to plan too far ahead. Like at the beginning, it was like, I'm just thankful and living, in the moment. And then the further out it gets, the more I want to help people. So I've become like this, like on TikTok, a lot of people reach out to me and talk to me, and I try to donate to as many GoFundMe's as I can because that's what people did to me. These last probably 5, years or so have been more about being supportive, bringing awareness to colon cancer, helping others, helping family members, more than being in like survivor mode, scared. I never Googled anything when I was sick, but I did try to find survivors and I could not find anybody, but I found one girl, and she wrote this journal, and she would come back once a year and just give an update. And she was my hope that I hung on to. And I was like, maybe I can be that for somebody, as long as I'm on this earth, maybe I can be that hope, that they can get to 5 years, they can get, to 6 years. My advice is if you're having symptoms, any symptom at all, get checked early. It's better to be overcautious than undercautious. And if a doctor says no, then find someone that will listen. Don't push things off. Don't make excuses, because colon cancer caught early is very, very treatable, very treatable. So don't wait, please. If you're having any symptoms at all, find a doctor that'll help you.